And welcome back to SWBA Today. And in today's episode, we are recapping the two games that took place in the SWBA last night. We're also going to be looking at the Eastern and the Western Conference standings and just giving my quick thoughts about that. So let's go ahead and jump into it, as we only had two games that took place last night in the SWBA. And so let's start with the Sacramento Kings versus the Detroit Pistons. And so this was a very good game. And in fact, I think that this was a character building game for the Sacramento Kings. They were able to come back after being down by as many as 18 points. And so I think really the key takeaway out of this is that Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Sabonis, these guys have really figured it out. I got a chance to look at an interview with Zach LaVine after this game, talking about how, look, him and DeMar DeRozan, they've been apart for about 6 months. If you remember, they did play together with the Chicago Bulls. And so, look, it's been a bit of just trying to figure it out. They seem to be now figuring it out, and these guys are playing some excellent basketball. In this one, Zach LaVine had 43 points. He was 16 of 28 from the field, 8 of 11 from downtown, got to the free throw line 4 times. He hit 3 of those. He was +6. He was electric really in the fourth quarter, closing down things for the Sacramento Kings. And DeMar DeRozan, look, he owned the fourth last season, did those things here in this one as well, hit some critical baskets. He had 37 points. He was +15. He was 8 of 10 from the free throw line, 14 of 26 from the field, 1 of 6 from downtown. He also had 4 rebounds and 2 assists. Sabonis, he had a triple-double, so 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 15 rebounds and 10 assists, so doing a great job just going out there, really working well from that dribble handoff position, so doing a great job distributing the basketball, getting rebounds, and finding ways to score. And so huge win there for the Sacramento Kings. On the other side of this thing, when you look at the Detroit Pistons, yes, it's a tough loss. It's at home, one that you wish you could have had. But I thought that Cade Cunningham looked very good in this one. And that's a good sign because he was out due to like a little bit of a calf injury there, but he's come back. He looked pretty fresh in this one. He got to the free throw line 11 times. He hit 8 of those, scored 35 points. He also had 5 assists and 2 steals. He was -9 in the plus-minus box score, played 33 minutes. But like I said, he looked very good in this one. Tim Hardaway Jr., he's continued to look very well for the Detroit Pistons, and I really think that this is one of the reasons why this team has been surging, is because they've been having some good veteran presence in this locker room. And so Tim Hardaway Jr., he's been in this league, plays very well down the stretch for the Pistons. He had 19 points in this one, -17 in the plus-minus box score, but still, he's been playing very well. Malik Beasley had 14, and so just, again, the Pistons come up short. They had this one, but a huge run for the Sacramento Kings to get this one done. So next game that took place here, and this was the last game of the night, and that was the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. And so the Miami Heat take care of the Philadelphia 76ers. And so just starting with the Sixers yet again, it's all about the SWBA draft coming up. I think that is just the bottom line for this one. They don't have Tyrese Maxey. He's been out due to I think a tendon in his finger or something like that needed, some time to heal. And then, Joel Embiid's been gone. Paul George has been gone. And so this has been a tough season for the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think really the bright spot out of this is that they got Quentin Grimes. And so Quentin Grimes continues to play well. 29 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He was -6 in this one. He was 11 of 25 from the field. And then Lonnie Walker, look, coming back to the NBA, had 29 points. He had 2 assists in this one, -8, 10 of 18 from the field, and 6 of 13. And so it's always good when you see the younger guys playing well. I think this is something that Jared McCain and whoever that they bring in via the draft are going to be able to hopefully build off of. But a tough loss for the 76ers. And for the Miami Heat, who are firmly in the play-in situation, it's all about just the positioning. And so what I liked most about this is that Khalil Ware has another big game for the Miami Heat. I think he's been probably the most maybe underrated rookie out of last year's draft class. I really was high on what he could do, just his ability to step out, shoot the three-pointer, and also kind of dominate inside. I really think that next season him and Bam are going to take off. I'm curious to see what he does in the play-in situation. But in this game, he had 19 points. He had 17 rebounds. He had 2 assists, plus 11. This was a Heat team that didn't have Bam. So Bam didn't play. You also didn't have Andrew Wiggins as well. Tyler Hero had a very good game. He had 20 points. He had 2 assists. He was plus 5 in this one. Did have 7 turnovers, 8 of 14 from the field, but Tyler Hero plays very well. And then also Duncan Robinson off the bench had 21 points. He was plus 16. He also had 2 rebounds and an assist. And so the Miami Heat get a good win against a team that is clearly struggling with the Philadelphia 76ers. And so with that being said, wanted to shift focus now and look over at the SWBA standings. And so bringing that up. And here we go. And so starting with the Eastern Conference. And so here's what we got with the East. We got the Cavs, we got the Celtics, we got the Knicks, Pacers, and Bucks here at the top, or your top 5. And so just got done talking about this stuff. We were talking earlier in today's episode of SW Today about these Cavs. And so I think it's just going to be the bottom line is just, can the Cavs be a team that shows up in the playoffs? I think that that's really the key. They've shown a lot of different things. And look, I do think that this is where champions are made at these moments. And so we will see what happens with this team. I still, again, question what they're going to do defensively against teams like the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Pacers. But at the end of the day, they've qualified. They're going to be top in the East. And so we'll find out exactly what this Cavs team can do. The Celtics, look, they look like a team that is just raring to go. They're looking good. I think that they're going to get healthy here at the right time, and they're going to be just fine. And so I think that this is going to be a team that's going to be there at the end. The Knicks have gotten considerably better, and I think that now that they have Jalen Brunson back, they're a real factor now in the Eastern Conference. I think that now they've figured out that they can win basketball games without Jalen Brunson. And I think that that really hurt them last season, along with other injuries. But to know that you can make it happen without your main star, I think that that's going to be critical. The Pacers looking a lot like they did last year. Bucks, not really believing too much into them. They do have one of the better players in the league in Giannis, so anything could happen there. The Pistons, I really feel like, are fearless. They're a team that, look, if there's a team that can maybe knock off one of the bigger teams, it might be the Pistons this year. The Magic just getting healthy again. The Hawks, here's the deal with the Hawks. Look, I think that they've been surprising this year, especially with Dyson Daniels. Don't necessarily believe that they're going to make a huge run, but I think they're going to be interesting. The Chicago Bulls, another team that I think could be interesting as well. Really figured out this backcourt with Josh Giddey and Kobe White. The Miami Heat, we just talked about that there with the young star of Khalil Ware. You still have Bam, Tyler Hero, a team that's very much still trying to figure out its identity since they have traded off Jimmy Butler. And so next up, looking at the Western Conference here really quickly, and just looking at, just maybe the key takeaways out of that. And so starting with the OKC Thunder. And so I think that the Thunder, it's their division really to lose at this point in time. I think that this is just a team that I feel like, man, they've just been really – they've looked good just the entire year. I don't think that there's one weakness that you could say, okay, that's going to be the one for the Thunder. Like, I clearly think that they've really just changed the page from last season. Like, this is a team, when they added Isaiah Hardenstein, like, they just added to a very good team. And so I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. The Rockets, look, this is a team defensively that's put it together. I think that they are going to be a team that's destined to make some noise. I know a lot of people are thinking, well, it's a young team, but we want to see, can they make it to the next level or get to another level when the postseason starts? And I think that they can. Now, this is where it gets interesting when you're talking about 3 through 8. Just again, going back to the SW Today show, and we're talking about all these teams being within a game. And so, look, I think the Lakers do stay there at 3, trending very well with Luka. I think that they've figured some stuff out. I don't like them in a 7-game series necessarily when the game slows down and then they have to grind their way through a series, especially without having any bigs. The Clippers, they have a guy that's been to the top with Kawhi Leonard and also Ty Lue. So that's a team that you don't want to necessarily bet, against. And I do like the fact that Norman Powell is healthy, a guy that probably should have been an all-star. Zubac is playing just out of his mind at this point. James Harden looking like the old Harden. And so it's the scariest team, I think, in the Western Conference. Then when you look at the Warriors, this is a team, they still very much have the championship DNA there. You add Jimmy Butler over, he's probably super motivated to show that this trade was worthwhile. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think this is one of the better supporting casts that Jimmy Butler has ever played with. And so I want to see what these Warriors are going to do in the postseason. And then when you look at the Timberwolves, and so look, Anthony Edwards is a guy that can win you a game. He's shown that in a game earlier against the Denver Nuggets. I think single-handedly this guy can make big shot after big shot. I just don't like what has happened with the adjustment that this team has had to make, even though Julius Randle is starting to really figure it out down the stretch. We'll see what happens in the postseason. That's going to be a play-in situation. The Grizzlies, look, it's all about what you're going to get from Jaren Jackson Jr. and then also too with John Morant. I think that with Jaren Jackson Jr., it's always been just, can he stay just on the court and not be in trouble with the fouls and things like that? Like, I think that that's really the biggest thing with him. And so, I think that if he can just avoid that, then that's where maybe this team has a chance. And then Josh staying on the court with that supporting cast. I mean, Scottie Pippen Jr., he's played very well. I like the addition of Zach Edey. So we'll see what happens depending on where they are with the positions and things like that. Next up, you got the Sacramento Kings here. So look, the Kings, again, we've seen this movie before with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. Now, what they're starting to do now is they're really starting to figure out what it is or what makes them great. And you're starting to see more so, okay, DeMar DeRozan knows when it's his time to go, Zach LaVine knowing when it's time for him to be assertive. And so that's what's going to make it interesting for them, because you have some of the better closers in the game with those two. And so if they can get into this thing, then maybe they can make things interesting. With the Mavs, look, I think that they have Anthony Davis back, which is a plus, but I'm not necessarily believing what they have with the rest of the supporting cast. I think just the way that things have kind of synced together this year, it hasn't been the best for the Mavs, especially with these injuries and things like that. And so it just feels like that the energy is just totally different around this team. So I don't necessarily expect that they're going to make some real noise there. And so anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking about the SWBA standings too. And let me know too what you guys were thinking as far as the key takeaways from the SWBA scoreboard. And so anyway, let me know. And as we always say, see the game and be the game. We'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.